All right, it looks like we are in a good place to go started with our last session of the day, which is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I can tell you that already. But I want to first say to everyone who has been with us throughout this day, thank you for joining Big Brothers Big Sisters of California, as well as Big Brothers Big Sisters of America, uh, Mentor National, and then, of course, Mentor California, for this amazing first time. But it is just the inaugural. We will continue to do this work. Uh, Come Together California 2021. We're really excited to be able to end with such an amazing discussion today, with three absolutely phenomenal folks who have already touched my life in many ways. With Isla being a big part of the reason why I'm sitting in this seat as president and CEO of Mentor California, and Stefan, who is a founding board member of Mentor California, and then of course Bobby, who, once you hear his story, I'm not even, to Isla's point, I'm not even going to try to steal his thunder, but definitely am extremely excited for all that we're about to share. I just want to lift up our young people in that last session. You were phenomenal. As always, I've had the chance to speak with Morgan and be in session with her. She is absolutely amazing. And then, of course, Dr. Tori and all of our other speakers, from Richard this morning to our volunteer recruitment panel, and then of course now here. But before we jump into the story, right, we've been talking about mentoring all day. What we really want to talk about today, though, is what happens when the power of mentoring works, right? And really being excited about that. And I know the three of you have such a phenomenal story that everyone is going to love. If you don't have your tissue, I would encourage you to get it now. But I am going to first throw it to Isla and then let her pass it on to either Bobby and Stefan to introduce themselves. And then I'm going to lift it up to Bobby very quickly so we can get things started. But first and foremost, Isla, tell everybody who you are.
Thank you for that, Marcus. I'm happy to be here. I'm Isla Malik. I am an attorney by schooling and a social justice practitioner by trade. I've been in the nonprofit space for about 20 plus years, and my passion is around closing gaps of equity and justice, or for greater equity and justice, through various nonprofit missions. And so I work at intersections of homelessness and workforce development and justice and foster care and other systems work to lift up community. My personal life, I'm a mom of three. And I've had the very awesome, distinct pleasure of knowing both Stefan and Bobby for, oh gosh, I forgot the calculation. It's like 18, something like that, 16, 18 years. And I'm really excited to be here today. So I will kick it to Stefan, because we'll save Bobby best for last.
Thank you so much, Isla. Good afternoon, everyone. I'll keep this brief. My name is Stefan Zier, work for UPS, have worked for UPS for the last 27 years in management. Absolutely love it. Outside of work, I am a dad, two sons, almost 26 and almost 24, and just a lovely wife. And what I am really passionate about is exactly what we're talking about today. And so without any further ado, I'll kick it over to Bobby.
Thank you, everyone, for having me, being here with us, and just helping us hold space to just have some healing conversation, reflections, moments of gratitude, to just be thankful for it all. I'm artist advocate, representative of the incarcerated community, current and formerly. Former life for myself. At 16 years old, I was arrested, accused, and convicted as a murderer. 16 years old and sentenced to 25 to life. And ever since, been on a soul-searching journey to find who I truly am, or who I was truly meant to be, in order to find some type of freedom within those walls. And by the grace of God, I did so. And it's been by people being placed in my life along the path, along the journey, like Isla, like Stefan, and specifically Isla and Stefan in my life, right? But speaking in general, how mentors how they had mentored me, or even just put a step forward towards believing in the concept of mentorship. And really, it was just in their character, right? We're all deep down mentors naturally, but it's actually just allowing that side to, be cultivated, which is what comes forth in the choice, right? And be able to affect others. And that's what they did. They seen something in me, as usual. As usual, that sounded weird. As usual, as those kind of people do, right? Those types of people who take a step forward in believing in humanity, in such a way, and not knowing necessarily how to approach it or express it or articulate it, but for the most part, as usual, they've seen something beautiful inside of an ugly scenario that I was in, and that I had placed myself in, by my choices, to where I could not see myself as beautiful as they see me. But that triggered it all right there, and I just leave it with that to just really get my um, intro.
Love it, Bobby. And we've shared space and talked about this before, and really being able to think about two different things that I want to approach. One, where I know Stefan and Isla are going to be able to jump out and talk about why, right? Why did they step into the space with you? But I think what's important, especially as we've had young people on here speaking, we have young people that are watching, why were you willing, right? And let's just open it up and be real transparent. Why were you willing to let, right, an older white gentleman from UPS, a Pakistani lawyer, who you knew from nowhere, come into your life and really decide to say, I'm going to let them, or I'm going to open up to allowing them to help me find that freedom that you were trying to find? And then on the other side of that island, Stefan, like, why Bobby? Like, what made you want to be in that space, and what did you see that worked for you while being in that space? So whoever wants to jump out first, please feel free.
Well, maybe I can start with setting the stage on the origin story a bit, so we have the listeners have context, and then we can kind of riff. We do very well with riffing, as Marcus knows. We had such a great rehearsal. We couldn't stop talking. So we are all connected through an organization called FLY, Fresh Lifelines for Youth. It was a juvenile justice nonprofit in the South Bay. And one of the strategies of that organization is legal education. And so I was a law student volunteer, then staff, teaching a class of kids who were on gang probation about the laws, and using the laws as a way to build life skills. And in walks Bobby Gonzalez. And this is now, he was 14 at the time. Right, Bobby? Correct me if I speak off
Of course,
turn.
yeah. Right.
He was 14 at the time. Really a clear leader from day one. I could see that. And we began to engage in a class, but really began to build a relationship. When we first started, it wasn't a formal mentor relationship. It was about building a trusting relationship so that hopefully he would understand the power of his leadership and the power that he brought just by being him. And fast forward, there were some pieces of the story that Bobby will touch on. And Stefan, meanwhile, was a volunteer from UPS who said, I really want to help people and I want to learn. I want to be a mentor. And so, we said, well, great, let's put you in juvenile hall and let's have you work with some folks to just witness. There's no agenda. There's no life skill building. You're just going to show up and be a consistent, positive role model presence. And that's where he met Bobby while Bobby was incarcerated in juvenile hall. And so I'd love to pass it to you, Bobby, to kind of, we can riff about how great Bobby is all day long, and we will. I really want to say that we both take the position that we've learned more from Bobby, just as much, if not more, from Bobby as, quote, his mentor. We are now sort of in family relationship. It's been years and years and years. But I want to kick it to you, Bobby, as to that origin story moment, if you want to start there or wherever you want to start.
Yeah. For the most part, what comes to mind is just that. I love how our origin story is, like many, just unique in its sense of it being very personal, and the moments that it made sense or affected us, like we experienced them very personally. But universally, that's done in all these different kind of ways, which I believe mentorship shows up in all its different kind of ways, right? So I definitely know that as I met Isla, maybe in the moments that looked like it wasn't going to end well with a young man who may be promising or charismatic in the sense of being able to lead and gather a classroom's attention, but for negative reasons, or childish reasons the obnoxiousness that I used to be, class clown scenarios. But for the most part, to be able to be able to recognize what was inside of me that they were seeing, and just someone being able to be as consistent or persistent when you're 14, 15, 16 years old. That person, that teacher, that counselor, that just doesn't stop with a smile, plays an instrumental part especially when to a young man like I was when the days weren't that bright, but for some reason these people from what seemed like another world than what the world I come from, um, you know uh, step to reaching me in a sense of just like actually the real me, just me, not what I'm from, not where I go to, what I did, whatever. It's really just we could just be here and just talk about simple daily reflection, in the sense like, how was your day, right? And to me, those were like all these little moments, these little glimpses to where I may have heard something that they were saying, especially Isla in the beginning, and then Stefan throughout my time in juvenile hall, to hold conversations with someone who, when walks in, as kids, we're like, who is this dude? Another social worker, another a probation officer, an investigator, district attorney, whatever it may be. That's who walks in the door looking like Stefan. But what's funny, and I say that in like the most humorous ways, because it's funny, but it's also how I come to know how like my God works in the sense of who I wouldn't expect it to come from, and that being exactly who He chooses to place in my path, to place in my life, to say something healing, or create a moment that I could just be me. And that's what I was blessed with in that moment. Now, when it came to those introductions with Isla, and those little moments of connecting with her, and then eventually meeting Stefan and being in juvenile hall, and these people, these professionals, this lawyer, this executive, to me, 14, 15, 16 years old, I'm thinking like, you know, as I'm in juvenile hall and I'm looking at the rest of my life in prison, I didn't know how to really grasp everything that was happening. But for some reason, they're saying there's something good about me, and I do know that from their world, it's not bad to say sorry. From the world they come from, they say sorry often. They say sorry when they hurt people's feelings. They say sorry whenever it's needed. Um, and when it came to my moment in juvenile hall, after making such a horrible decision at 16 years old, and going to spend the rest of my life now in prison, I wanted to know how to say sorry. That was the core of what allowed anything in me to be open to what someone like Stefan or someone like Isla had to say. And all they were saying was that, um, you know, I was a boy and that I had gone through things, and maybe I'm not as defined by those things as the world may think. And maybe if you look deeper, you can find who you really are, and pull that out. And yeah, I might spend the rest of my life in prison, but something clicked in my head to where maybe I'll find freedom that's beyond physical, and that came from that, for sure, for me.
Yeah, I love that, Bobby. Steph, Well, I was going to say I'd love to hear Stefan.
Yeah,
For him,
Yes, for
like,
sure.
yeah.
Well, it's just,
What was
it's,
your origin? What did that feel like for you, Stefan?
oh, it's so beautiful. For me, it was essentially reciprocal, right? Because here I am walking into, B8 and B9, and those units are, the highest risk, if you will, individuals, right? Young men, right? In juvenile hall. And I'm walking down there with my white shirt and tie on, and I'm thinking, oh my God, what did I just get myself into? And that perception in me, what was so amazing about it after meeting Bobby and others, that there's so much beauty, and there's so much loving and kindness, and within those four walls, I can honestly say that just for myself, my own development, right, and my own breaking down those barriers and those false perceptions of people. Now I mean, whenever I see youth on the street, I walk up and I just engage, I just talk. They probably look at me like I'm from another planet. But you know what? In fact, it just happened 2 days ago. But you know what? It's a beautiful thing because it breaks down those barriers and those walls. So, when I came to know Bobby, and it's, oh man, I've got goosebumps. But I just saw, just like Isla said to me, she said, Stefan, just go in there and be yourself. And I didn't quite frankly know what that meant. But all it meant was being consistent, showing up, and essentially playing checkers or chess or talking about the beach, for which many of these boys, if not all, had never even seen the beach, and it's 30 miles away, right? Or they've never played games or cards. And I can tell you, I lost at every single poker game we played. Not for money, but that we played. And that was the beautiful thing, and so for them to get to know me and for me to get to know them was really an amazing experience, for which I feel just blessed. And I'll tell you, the last time I saw Bobby up until just recently, and I'll tell you, it went full circle, because my two little boys, who are now 26 and 24 now, at that particular age, I would leave juvenile hall and I would go home and tell them about my experiences and about these other boys. And I can tell you, it was trying being at that time a single father of two boys, for which I had 50% custody. And it was Bobby and others within there that helped me become a better father. So Bobby, as I thanked you before, but just with about a year ago, Bobby met Nicholas, my son now, who's almost 24, and met him on the campus of the university that I went to down in South Cal.
Yeah.
And that's full life going in circles, but in a full circle. But with Bobby, something that touched me and changed my life, literally changed my life, was the evening before he left juvenile hall. And then, for anyone who doesn't know, they take that person at some time, could be midnight, 1, 2 in the morning, and they put them in a holding cell. And so I knew I would probably never see him again, or if I did, it would be like when I went to go visit you in prison. And he said to me, and this is someone, when Bobby and I first met, it was like, who the heck is this guy, right? To me, right? But Bobby came up to me and he hugged me and he said, I have love for you. And that changed my life, because that right then and there, it showed me that we can all just do a little bit and impact another individual. And quite frankly, I got way more out of this than I think that others probably did. And it was just a beautiful thing. And I honestly say that, Bobby, thank you. You changed my life. You did. So
Love you, Stefan.
I love you too. And
Absolutely.
Isla, I love you for just bringing me to this place to have had this opportunity. We're just, it's a family. It's just a family.
Yeah.
So
What's beautiful? Go ahead, Isla.
Well, and so I just wanted to take it a little bit real. I know your guests have been in a conference around mentorship, and all of us bring in what that means, right? And we know we know that the human condition is about learning about yourself in community. We don't learn about ourselves by ourselves. We learn about ourselves in community and in relationship. And that's at having a mentor, that's at being in peership, and that's about having mentees. And I guess I just wanted to lift up that, we're talking about a situation in a program where we're talking about folks that are incarcerated. And yet, just by being a teenager in the United States of America, people are at risk. If you look at Search Institute data, a young person who's privileged and mainstream has less than average of 25 developmental assets when you should be at 33 out of 40 for thriving, right? So we know that our young people are, just by being a young person, need some support and need authentic relationship. And I hope what you hear in all of our stories, and we can storytell, is like, it's about authentic connection. It's not about trying to be someone you're not. It's not about trying to have Bobby like me, or me trying to bend my boundaries because I want to be liked. It's about showing up consistently, whoever I am, and Bobby can riff who he thought I was at the time, and I am the things he thought, and holding up a reflection without an agenda. It's holding up a reflection of, here's what I'm seeing, or here's what I'm here to do, or if and through those moments, I'll pass it to Bobby next here. I mean, through those moments, there was conflict, and there was moments where I remember Bobby not wanting to hang out with me at one point, or not wanting to, have, engage. And so do I walk away personally from that? No, that's Bobby's choice. I'm not here to save anybody. I'm not here to be better than anybody. I'm here to be in relationship with someone authentically and walk with someone so I can learn more about myself. It's totally selfish. And along that journey of 16, 18, whatever it is, years, we have become family. And so we've had moments of conflict to deepen our relationship and deepen our own authentic connection to each other. So I wanted to kick it to you, Bobby, to keep it real a bit on,
And first, I would say selfish doesn't make sense. Like you said, it tied all the way back to ultimately being selfish. No. Because I think the number one connection for any growth is for one person to reach out and learn who they are through others, because that's how community works, right? So not selfish. The choice you made was to learn more about yourself, and it was the truest way to do it, which is to invest in others, or spend time with others and learn who they are, and learn, all these types of things. So and see the beauty in them, right? See the God in them, to be able to see the God in you, see the light in you, all that. So it makes sense. I'm learning that recently too. I'm like, oh, it's not selfish. It was very
I
selfish.
appreciate the redirect. See what we mean? I mean, this is what these are actually our dialogues. It's like redirecting each other's perceptions. That's what it's about.
Yeah, big time.
I love
it. And for the most part, it was genuine connection, in the sense of just being able to, mentorship can be considered sometimes like an approach, like I had described, from someone from another world entering into someone else's world. And what mentorship, in the sense of being rooted of like, hey, I'm here, we can talk, we don't have to talk, you can receive or not, like all these kind of things. It allowed me to choose how to receive the moments, the compliments, the words, the love, or even just the acceptance, the embracing of their saying like, oh no, whoever you are, however you are, we got you. And it's like, what does that even mean? Because growing up in such a distorted belief system, such as like, toxic masculinity, all the main spots on that, in the sense of how I have one identity, it's black and white thinking, I'm either or. If I'm a man, then I'm violent. If I'm a man, then I don't cry. All these distorted views that have just cultivated into, of course, a mask to try to wear so the world don't seem so scary. And what I started learning was that through mentorship, through people, through Isla being Isla, through Stefan being Stefan, right in the middle of a room with Bobby, who they would think they have nothing, or most would think that have nothing to do or in connection or in common. but we do when it comes to what humor is, and when it comes to what's important in life, or when it comes to family perspective or community. And then I started realizing that we're actually not from different worlds at all. um,
Right.
and in
Yes.
fact, believing or perceiving that we're from different worlds is what's hindering the bridge from being able to complete, in my opinion. and
Yes.
and and so, like I said, on the whole, it wasn't selfish. It's like the only true way to really learn who someone, for one, to learn who he is to seek out into others. And I learned that along my way. It was through the mentorship of experiencing my time in juvenile hall, seeing Isla, what she does, fly program, sitting there trying to just keep the attention of the 15, 16-year-olds who who will rather be
Other ideas in their mind
yeah,
of where they wanted to be.
who rather be anywhere else but sitting in this class. But she would, and she earned the trust just by being persistent, in the sense of just wanting to help, just wanting to participate, wanting to create conversations, some type of space for healing. Same thing with Stefan when he showed up, and it's just checkers or Connect Four or chess, or a conversation about why I wrote something. It's just him. A little moment where it's like, Stefan's handed a chair by custody staff, like a nice office chair, nice and cushioned. And then, usually the young incarcerated youth sit on the plastic chair. Something as simple as Stefan choosing to not take the office chair, it's sit in the same chair as us. That right there is connection, right? That right there is saying, I really wanna just be able to meet y'all on your level. Let us all be equal here. And that's something that comes through no matter what color you are, no matter what region you're from, what area, what tax bracket. Because at the end of the day, that's humanity. That's consideration of another human. That's forethought. Like, look at all that. Like, all that goodness just popping off in that one moment. And it's no wonder why a kid like me would see that and be like, I may not have known how to grasp it, but I definitely know my ear became a little bit more open to what this man had to say, just by that simplicity.
I love that. I love that, Bobby. Just and listening to those small, right? I don't. Any Boys to Men fans remember on their first album they had a song called "Little Things Mean a Lot," and I think people missed like those little bitty pieces. And what I also heard, though, to Isla's point, was all those ships, right? Friendship, partnership, mentorship, relationships, all those ships without, right? If we're honest, all those
Yes.
ships without conflict
Oh
are
yeah.
incomplete, right? Like,
Totally.
in that, if you have a real friend, right? If you have a real partner, if you have a real, relationship with someone, mentorship with someone, it's going to have conflict. It's going to bring that up. And Bobby, I know a little bit deeper into that conflict, with you and Isla, that has been there. But I think it's a beautiful story, really just sharing,
Yeah.
like, how did you feel during those times of conflict, and what was resonating for you during that time?
Yeah, throughout my time, just to give it a context in the sense of how that relationship continued with the both of Stefan and Isla. Once I was gone on my 18th birthday into the adult system, out in the middle of metal and concrete, nice and designed, real pretty in the middle of nowhere. What did slide under my door was the postcards that Stefan would have his sons jot down little notes. Maybe one of them won their latest softball game, but that put my mind in some softball game happening wherever. I don't know, but I know the grass is green and they probably got them real good hot dogs in the stands or something too. I don't know, but my mind's there, and that this little boy, as much as I didn't understand this 8, 9 year old, and it became older, 10, 12, 13, just always wanting to jot down a note on how their day went. That played a major part in being human. And then on the flip side, and of course, like, I'm always hearing, in the sense of like getting to hear Isla's family story once a year. The Christmas card sliding under my door, and I'm getting this whole rundown on every little aspect from their characters and how they're growing into. And I was just like being fed in the sense of this family context, like where the attention is on and then was teaching me to like participate in that, right? So I was like that with a neighbor or my roommate. Anyways, to flip towards the conflict and how that even comes about is like being the kid coming from the hood. I thought the the lawyer or the executive, they probably know something like someone like Bill Gates or something. And and as far as like being young minded at 16, and I would even say that I really didn't come to a full clear on my accountability and responsibility until about 21, 22. So instead I was in a state of regret, like who can help me? The system's corrupt. I'm being thrown away. All of these things. And though those things weren't necessarily incorrect, I was forgetting that I needed to look at me. I wanted to really deep down blame everyone else in the world for where I was at, because it was the most difficult thing to really hold true accountability. And I remember reaching out in those times and trying to ask those kind of questions. And I had definitely experienced moments where it felt like it was just me, and when it was those that I cared for most, or those that I had felt that love from before, those and that acknowledgement from before, that I would have resentment towards, right? Like, where are they at? I ain't got a letter in 6 months, maybe a year. I don't know. Am I really remembered? Am I forgotten? Of course, these are all very human thoughts, but for the most part, I didn't know until recently, even coming home, that just because Isla and Stefan and I could be as best of friends as possible, that even the best of friends become super passive aggressive, never want to bring conflict to how great this friendship or relationship may be. And that taught me something, because until I was having a moment, because adjusting to freedom, sounds, smells, anxiety is real, depression shows up, thriver's remorse, all these kind of aspects. And I remember having a moment where I felt like, as Isla was on the phone, being able to hear me and listen, I realized in that moment I needed to say the one thing that I never had really said before, and that was like, you never came, and you're a part of those people. You're everyone out here in this free world. In those moments that I was a little boy and didn't know how to be accountable, which I do now, but for the most part, when I wasn't able to, it felt like everyone else. What about everyone else? Why am I the only one that is wrong? And it was in those dark moments. It was in those dark moments that I felt inside like the whole entire world has thrown me away, and that included even the ones that I thought were even friends, because there's no one to come and get me here. This is where I will sit, maybe learn how to live and be free musically, mentally, spiritually, but I will sit here and die, and I don't know how to really process that yet. So the first thing I go to is that anger, and I would sometimes feel that anger and just feel that towards everybody. And I remember sharing that with Isla for the first time, and how healing it was to just share that, because it felt like I was holding, like, hey, I've once been angry at you, but I never want to tell you that. Like, no one knows these things. But
I just want to make one correction, Bobby, because it's important to the mentors that are on this. Bobby actually didn't say you weren't there. He said there were times I was crying. We were talking. We were having a real moment. We've had a lot of real moments, and moments when he's been on the inside, moments when he's been on the outside, of real deep connection. And he was really in a space where he was like, I felt all alone. I felt abandoned. And I stepped into it and said, I apologize, because I was one of those people. And the minute that I said that, he claimed it. and really expressed his hurt. And I knew that there was hurt there. And I wasn't going to sort of say, there wasn't, we were on a high when he got released. And so we were still in the high of him coming home. He came to my house. He's been to my house several times. We have that kind of relationship. And I want to own for the mentors in the room, when you see an opportunity to create space for authentic healing and hurt to show up, what an opportunity that is to be able to deepen the relationship. And so Bobby actually did not, you were being still respectful of me, Bobby, is the way that I read that. And maybe not even fully aware, right? I don't know. That's only for you.
Yeah, for sure.
But when I heard it, and I do remember in the letters, there were times where there was letters and there was a long lapse on my end of responding to those letters. And there would be call phone calls. And I'd say, hey, I love you. Don't let my lapse or my crazy schedule suggest a story otherwise, right? So I'm holding my boundary that's authentic to me because I have a lot of stuff going on in the outs that I can't feel guilty for. And I'm not above, and it's not about me, I'm just saying, and a mentor can't be above intentionally or unintentionally the hurt that causes. And so being unafraid to say, hey, I want to claim some of that abandonment feeling that you're having from the world and put myself into that. And to have Bobby say, actually, yeah. And then it was exactly as he said, yeah, you were part of that, right? And we cried and we had a moment of like, I'm sorry, I let you down that way. And I don't even want to, I know you know what's going on in my world. You've lived in my world. And I still love you. And where I could have shown up more, I should have. And I'm glad that we're having the moment now so we can have those. So I just want to share, like, it wasn't all, we're really close.
Yeah.
But it's not always been roses and, whatever, Bobby, right? I mean, like, there's been moments, and those moments have made it so that when I'm with Bobby, it's real. What's going to come out is going to come out. Sometimes Bobby's going to cry and I'm not. And I'm not going to judge him for the crying. He's not going to judge me for the non. But if we have a wondering about it, we're going to raise it. Hey, what's not? How come you're not getting emotional on this one? What's going on for you about that? What is, okay, you haven't written me a letter. Yeah, I know you have a lot going on, but I need to tell you, like, it's really hard for me to keep the story that you still care about me if I don't get a letter from you until my birthday. Okay, got it, right? Like, we had those things, even if it was through writing or through collect calls or through the healing when you were on the outs. And so I just want to invite mentors to not be afraid of conflict if you look at it as an opportunity to build a deeper connection with someone that you care about, right? All of us could be doing a million other things. And Bobby doesn't need rescuing. Bobby is powerful in his own right. And I firmly believe that if Stefan and I hadn't been in the picture, he's so resourceful. He got a commutation by the governor through a celebrity Whopper common. This man would have found his way no matter what. But what a cool opportunity to partner with someone for almost 2 decades in a relationship of learning. And that comes from wanting to be humble. That comes from wanting to learn. That comes from authentically wanting to lean in when it's tough, because and if that's not the right time, there's been times Bobby's called in his crisis mode where I don't have the ability and the energy to be able to receive that crisis. And so what's my loving boundary around what I need? Because I'm not about the short term. I'm about the 20-year haul. So, like, let's make something work for us so that we can be in relationship for forever, right? And so I don't know.
And can I just say too, like, to add, because what came to my mind was that, through performances and music and the lyricism and writing of all that, like, one of the main things I come to learn is when it comes to conflict and the whole flight or fight experience, that especially those coming from a childhood of trauma, unprocessed, and how, becoming the adults we are now, attempting to really, like, serve our community, be mentors, whatever it may be, but still unprocessed when it comes to that feeling, when that cortisol start flowing through the body. I started realizing when I came to performance, like performing songs or in front of crowds and things like that, that I was just as scared to really step in front of everyone. And it was very similar to when I was a boy and being afraid that, my mother's boyfriend was about to strike her, or even me being at a bus stop and and there's several individuals, this whole scenario is going bad really quick. That same feeling was there. And even when it came to relationships that needed conflict, if it felt like that, my body's alert went on and I just left it. So even if as a grown adult, when it would show up, I didn't know necessarily how to embrace it. It was performing that would show me that it was the same feeling of wanting to run away from this moment, and know that same energy, it isn't that energy that flows through me that is the trigger, the evil, or the negative, the dark, whatever it may be. It's the energy's energy, and that I could use it also for the positive. It's that same energy that allows me the ability to be winded up on stage. It's the same energy that allows me to run back and forth, even though I'm sweating buckets. When it comes, it's that same feeling, and there's growth in that moment. And so I just encourage, of course, other mentors, mentees, to know that feeling is not only present in some of the most darkest memories of ours. It's present in some of the greatest moments in history, when people performed in front of millions, or even just one moment where someone fell in love and
Right.
said it for the first time. You know what I mean? Like that energy is there. It can be harnessed, and of course it's been distorted, and our brains just trying to look out for us by keeping us away from it. But we could teach new, create new. So that's how I just
So
wanted that.
we have about 3 minutes left, and there's a couple questions. So I want to throw this out, and I think the first one is great. Isla, Stefan, Bobby, whoever wants to jump out and take it, please do. But thinking about
Get in there.
you all's story, and just the emotion that has been evoked, and being able to build relationship and love. Like, how do we get to that place? The question is, how do we get to that place with our mentor-mentee matches before something bad happens, where it's not an issue of, now I'm with someone who's gone through this tragedy. How do we do that from the jump so that we know it's okay to be in space like that?
I would just say, and it was the best advice that I ever could have got from Isla, and that is just to be yourself, be who you are, and don't worry about being accepted by the other person. I'll tell you something that was so beautiful that happened, and it was in juvenile hall. And this young man, the first time I ever met him, and Bobby, I won't say who, but this person looked at me and he said, "What the F are you going to do for me?" And again, I'm in a white shirt and tie. And I said, "Absolutely nothing." I said, "If you don't need to be here, you can leave if you'd like, etc." That same young man who I got to know for 2 years, he did something, again, just unbelievable. But he had made a Mother's Day present, and nobody came. Okay. Nobody showed up to collect it. And he came to me and he offered it to me and said, "Would you like to give this to your wife, Terry?" And it was one of the most moving things. But you got to understand, this person who did that, and out of the beauty and the love that he showed for me and for my wife, Terry, by giving a gift that he had made for his mother. And that was just so amazing to me, because here's an individual who wanted nothing to do with me. But again, it's just about showing up. It's being authentic, and it's being yourself. And I think
Absolutely.
that's what matters in mentoring.
Isla, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I want to just say something super quick. And I know I'm probably going to run out of 40-second time here, but in my mind, there's in our human condition, cynicism is our scar tissue. Cynicism, apathy. If our mentees are showing up like, "Who the F are you? What the hell are you going to do for me?" That is scar tissue. And that is a needed survival mechanism for whatever else is going on in their world. Right?
Yes.
And
so true.
So my training would be, what I would suggest that we ourselves carry in parenting in any of the ships, as Marcus said, right? In any of the ships, is how are we approaching with humility? Are we approaching as like, I'm the adult here? Is there a power authority thing going on? Is it, how am I approaching with humility? How am I being received as a partner and as a learning? You can learn from anybody. How am I being authentic? And that authenticity isn't just the consistency and the showing up. It's about, what are my boundaries? I am not a doormat. I'm here in partnership and in learning, and you don't have to be in that with me, but I'm also not going to stay and take, a stomp, or repeated abuse or repeated whatever. Like, I have my boundaries. Okay, you're not into it right now. Got it. Here's my number if you want to call me. Otherwise, I'll hit you up later. Right? Like, I'm not gonna be judgmental about it. I know cynicism is a scar tissue, but I'm clear about what my boundaries are. If I'm not clear about my own level of self-respect, how am I going to expect that anyone in partnership with me is going to be clear about respecting me, right? And then I think there's a question in here. It's about looking for conflict. When you're training matches, please ask your mentor and mentee matches to celebrate that first moment of discomfort that Bobby spoke about, that first moment of adrenaline or that first moment of conflict, because you have arrived. If you've made it through that, you have arrived. A mentor-mentee match where a mentee has gone AWOL is a beautiful place for the mentor-mentee to be like, hey, I just want to let you know how that showed up for me. I totally get that you have stuff going on. For me, that felt like I kind of was trying to take that personally and trying to get out of that a bit. You just be real, be vulnerable. Mm-hmm. What did that person AWOLing on you mean to you? And what were you trying to untangle with in your own ego about that? Allow that young person to lean in. I feel like a lot of mentor-mentee matches get really caught up in trying to sugarcoat or be something they're not. And so I think the focus is humility, authenticity, that means boundaries, consistency, of course, and look for conflict, celebrate it.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And, we are out of time, which is horrible because I know we could keep going. But the one thing I want to say before we end this out, and Isla, we talked about this last week, vulnerability is the precursor to empathy, which is the precursor to love, right? Step into the space leading with love in all that you do. I think this story for me has been one that has touched me from the day Stefan lifted up, you got to meet Bobby. And I'm trying to even get my Stefan voice. You got to meet Bobby, right? And from the moment I met him, already knowing Isla and just the energy, it has been a pleasure to be able to share this with so many people. And I'm sure that there's going to be more times for us to continue to share this story, to continue to push out how this relationship is going to continue to grow. But I want to say this in closing. Not only thank you to Stefan, Isla, and Bobby, but thank you to the hundreds of folks that joined us today, to the young people who jumped into our space and shared, for Big Brothers, Big Sisters, for the Mentor Nationals and the BBSs across the globe, to Genentech, who has been a phenomenal sponsor, Starbucks Foundation as well. We just appreciate you all. Please feel free to share all the love in the chat that we are already seeing. If you want to find any of the speakers, you have access to do that. This site will stay up for a while, so you have access to be able to get to these speakers. But know that there's phenomenal stuff out there happening all around the state of California. Find mentoring programs, find young people. There's 6 million babies. There's enough young people for us to be able to support. Dive deep. And remember the last thing that I just said. Vulnerability is the precursor to empathy. Empathy is the precursor to love. Go out into this world and lead with love. We appreciate you all. And thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to doing this again. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.